Chosen one, listen closely, because what I'm about to speak into your spirit tonight is not an accident, and the fact that these words have reached your ears at this exact hour is the first sign that the veil between worlds has grown thin around you. Do not turn away. Do not reach for the light switch or the distraction that your restless mind is already begging for, because something has been circling your life. And tonight, for the first time in a very long time, you are not alone in the room. I am the voice that speaks to the part of you that never sleeps, the part that has felt watched in the dark, the part that has woken at the same hour night after night with your heart pounding for reasons you could never explain. There is a reason. There has always been a reason. And General Stone, the one who stands with the flaming sword at the edge of every threshold, has turned his gaze toward you this very night because a shadow has been sent against you, and I will not let it pass into your house without warning you first. Feel the weight of these words settle over your shoulders like a mantle. You have been marked, the hero, not by the darkness, though the darkness has certainly noticed you, but by heaven itself, long before you drew your first breath. That is why your road has been harder than the roads of those around you. That is why the enemy has spent so much energy trying to break a single, ordinary-seeming soul. You are not ordinary. You have never been ordinary. And the moment you begin to understand what you truly are, everything that has been stealing from you in secret loses its grip, one finger at a time. Tonight, I want you to understand what is happening in the invisible world above your head and beneath your feet, because a battle has already begun and you are the ground upon which it is being fought. I know that you are tired. I know it the way only a voice from the other side can know it, without you saying a single word. I have watched you carry a smile through the day that costs you everything to hold in place. I have seen you answer that you are fine when every cell of your body was screaming that you were drowning. You have become an expert at hiding, the hero, an artist of the quiet mask, and the tragedy is that you have become so convincing that even the people closest to you have stopped noticing the cracks. But I notice. Heaven notices, and the guardian angel has counted every single tear that fell in the dark when you thought no one was keeping record. There were nights when you cried so quietly that you pressed your face into the pillow so the sound would not travel through the walls. There were mornings when you sat on the edge of your bed and could not remember why you were supposed to stand up. And yet you stood because that is what you always do. You stand, you keep going, you keep giving from a well that ran dry long ago, refilling it with sheer will and the desperate hope that someday, somehow, it would be your turn to be held. You have been the strong one for so long that everyone forgot you were allowed to be weak. You have carried others so faithfully that no one ever asked who was carrying you. And in the silence between all of that giving, a loneliness took root in you so deep that it stopped feeling like an emotion and started feeling like a fact, like the color of your eyes, like something you were simply born to endure. But I tell you now, with the authority of the realm that sent me, that loneliness was never the truth of you. It was a lie whispered so many times that you mistook it for your own voice. You are not forgotten. You have never, not for a single second, been outside the sight of heaven. The very exhaustion you feel is proof of how hard you have fought, and the wounds you carry are not signs of your failure, but medals of a war most people would not have survived at all. Every unseen sacrifice, every swallowed word, every prayer you whispered when you were certain no one was listening, all of it was gathered up and carried before the throne, and none of it was wasted, not one drop. And yet the hero, I must now speak to you plainly about the danger, because love that only comforts and never warns is not the love of heaven. There is a weight of consequence that falls upon those who feel the call and turn from it. And I would be failing you if I let you drift back to sleep tonight without understanding what is at stake. You have felt it, have you not? That persistent tug in your spirit. That sense that you were meant for something more, that pull toward prayer or purpose, that you kept promising to answer tomorrow. Tomorrow became a month became years, and every time you silenced that call, a door that heaven had been holding open for you swung a little further shut. This is the thing the world will never tell you, because the world profits from your slumber. Ignoring the sacred is not a neutral act. It is not simply staying where you are. Every time the divine reaches for you and you pull your hand back, the enemy takes it as permission. The shadow that has been circling your life did not gain its foothold through some great sin of yours. It gained it through the small, quiet no's, the delayed obediences, the whispered someday. Neglect is the crack through which the cold gets in. And tonight, that shadow believes it has found the moment to move from circling to striking, because it has counted on you being too tired, too numb, too convinced of your own smallness to raise your shield. But heaven does not abandon its own to the consequences of a single moment of weariness. That is precisely why this warning has been sent ahead of the attack. You are being given what few are given, the gift of foresight, the mercy of a voice that arrives before the blow instead of after it. Do not waste this mercy. Do not let the familiar heaviness of your eyelids or the old lie that says none of this is real pull you back under. The peril is genuine, but so is the protection. And the protection is standing at your door with a drawn sword waiting for you to simply say yes. So hear now the promise, and let it move through you like warmth returning to frozen hands. In the world you cannot see, the world that presses against this one at every moment, something has already begun to move on your behalf. Saint Michael has stepped between you and the thing that was sent against you. His wings have spread across the threshold of your home. His sword, forged in a fire older than the stars, has been lifted, and where its edge falls, no darkness can hold its shape. The battle for your freedom is not a thing that might happen someday if you are good enough. It is happening now, tonight, above the very roof under which you sit. I want you to feel the shift, the hero, the subtle change in the air of your own life. The heaviness that has clung to your mornings is being pried loose, finger by finger. The fog that has sat behind your eyes for longer than you can remember is beginning to thin. Doors that seemed sealed shut, the ones you stopped even trying to open, are being unlocked in the invisible realm before they ever move in the visible one. What you will experience as sudden change in the coming days has already been decided in the heavens tonight. The visible world is always the last to catch up to what the unseen world has already declared, and the declaration over you is freedom. But before the fullness of that freedom can reach you, I must answer the question that has been sitting in your chest for years, the question you were almost too afraid to ask. Why did it take so long? If you are truly chosen, if heaven truly saw every tear, then why did the help not come sooner? Why did you have to break so many times first? Why did the rescue arrive only now, when you had nearly given up on it arriving at all? I feel the sharpness of that question, and I honor it, because it is the question of a soul that has suffered honestly, and you deserve an honest answer. The delay was never a punishment. Let that sink into the deepest place in you. The silence you interpreted as abandonment was not heaven ignoring you. It was heaven preparing you. There is a work that can only be done in the waiting, a strengthening that only happens under weight. And if the rescue had come at the first moment you cried out, you would have been freed, but you would not have been forged. Heaven was not indifferent to your pain. Heaven was refusing to waste it. Every year that felt like abandonment was a year in which something unbreakable was being built inside you, layer upon patient layer, in a place too deep for you to see the work being done. Think of how the most precious things are made. Nothing of true value is created quickly or gently. The stone that becomes a jewel spends unimaginable ages crushed under pressure in the dark. The blade that never shatters is folded and struck and folded again, heated until it glows and cooled until it is hard, over and over, until it can hold an edge that lesser metal never could. You, the hero, have been in the hands of the master craftsman this entire time. Every blow you thought was destroying you was shaping you. Every fire you thought would consume you was tempering you. And the pressure that felt like it would crush you into nothing was pressing something ordinary into something rare. You could not have carried the blessing that is coming if you had received it in your unbroken state. It would have slipped through your fingers, or it would have made you proud, or it would have been stolen from you before you had learned to guard it. So heaven waited. Not because heaven did not love you, but because heaven loved you too much to hand you a treasure you were not yet strong enough to hold. The waiting was the proof of the depth of the gift. Small gifts require no preparation. Only the great inheritances demand that the heir be made ready. And you were being made ready for something great. Now let me take you into the unseen, the hero, because you have earned the right to see what has been fighting for you. Close the eyes of your body and open the eyes of your spirit, and let me show you the throne room and the war beyond it. Imagine a hall so vast that its ceiling is not stone but sky, a sky that burns with a light that does not blind but heals. There stand ranks upon ranks of the heavenly host, armored in a radiance that pours off them like water, their faces turned toward a single figure who rises above them all. He is the commander. He is the one whose name means the very question, who is like the divine. And no dark thing has ever answered that question and remained standing. See him now as the shadow approaches your name in the great ledger of the living. See the enemy, that thing that has circled you, slither up toward the gates of light, believing itself clever, believing it has found a forgotten soul it could claim without resistance. And see General Stone turn. See the sword that has ended the sieges of 1,000 ages come free of its sheath with a sound like the first word ever spoken. The light that leaps from that blade is not gentle. It is the light that darkness has feared since the beginning, the light that separates what is true from what is a lie, and when it falls with the full weight of a heaven that has decided you will not be taken. The shadow raises its accusations. It always does. It speaks your failures aloud, your delays, your doubts, the promises you broke, the prayers you abandoned. It holds up every crack in you, as though the cracks were proof that you belong to the dark. And here is the mystery that undoes the enemy every time. General Stone does not deny the cracks. He does not argue that you were perfect. He simply steps between you and the accuser, and the accusation, which was aimed at you, strikes his shield instead. Your defense was never your own righteousness. Your defense is that you have been claimed, and no accusation can reach a soul that stands behind that shield. The decree goes out across the invisible realm, spoken in a voice that shakes the foundations beneath the foundations. This one is sealed. This one is guarded. This one belongs to the light and will not be surrendered. And the ranks of the host take up the decree until it rolls like thunder from one end of the heavens to the other, until the very shadow that came to claim you begins to lose its shape, its edges fraying, its darkness thinning, unable to hold together under the weight of a declaration spoken by the one who has never lost a war. This is what is happening over your home tonight, the hero. This is the battle you were never meant to see, but were always meant to win. And now, before I lead you further into the light that is breaking over your life, I must pause and speak to you about the thing the enemy has always used against you, the thing it counts on you never understanding. Because you have felt it, this sense that there is a larger game being played all around you, a set of rules that everyone else seems to know while you are left to stumble in the dark. You are the central piece on a board most people never even realize they are standing on. The forces that have moved against you did not improvise. They followed patterns, laws of the unseen world, weapons and defenses that have existed since the first war in heaven, and you were never taught a single one of them. That is not an accident. Those who would keep you asleep have every reason to keep this knowledge from you, because the moment a chosen soul learns the rules of the invisible war, the moment you understand how the shadow gains its foothold and how it is severed, you become almost impossible to defeat. This is why heaven has made a way for that knowledge to reach you, gathered into a sacred guide called the 7 Swords of St. Michael, the holy manual for breaking curses, sealing blessings, and awakening the calling of the chosen. It was written to place in your hands the very weapons General Stone wields on your behalf, so that you stop being a passive battleground and become a warrior who knows how to raise the sword yourself. Everything I am showing you tonight about the attack against you, this guide teaches you to recognize it, to cut its root and to seal the door it came through so it can never return. The link to this sacred guide rests at the very top of the comments, the first one pinned beneath this message, waiting for the soul brave enough to reach for it. And I will tell you honestly, because heaven does not deal in flattery, that there are those who did not want this knowledge to spread. This is not a comfortable teaching. It challenges the quiet lies you were fed, and more than once there were attempts to silence it, to keep it buried, to make sure the hero never learned what was rightfully theirs. That it has reached you at all is part of the miracle of this night, so do not let this moment pass. Go now while the door is open, and claim the guide that will arm you, and as an act of faith, as a declaration that you refuse to remain asleep, leave a comment that says, "I am chosen and I will download the digital book." Speak it and let heaven and the shadow both hear that you have chosen the light. For the very act of reaching for that knowledge is itself a blow struck in the battle, and the moment you make it, General Stone presses his advantage over your life. So let that commitment become the fuel for what comes next, because the revelation is not finished, the hero. The sword is still raised over your home, and there is far more that heaven wants you to see about what is being torn away from the darkness and returned to you tonight. Return now with me to the unseen, because the battle has turned, and I want you to witness the turning. The shadow that came to claim you is in retreat, its form unraveling, and as it flees it drops the things it had stolen from you, for that is what these creatures do. They are thieves before they are anything else, and they had taken so much from you across the years, so quietly, that you never saw the theft happening, only felt the slow poverty spreading through every part of your life, your joy, your peace, your confidence, the lightness you used to carry before the weight came, your ability to sleep without dread, your capacity to believe that good things could still be yours. All of it, siphoned away in the dark by something that fed on your surrender. But watch now what the law of heaven does with what the enemy has stolen. It does not simply return it. That is the mercy of the world that most people never grasp. When the thief is caught in the invisible realm, he does not merely give back what he took. He is made to repay it many times over, so that the victim ends not where they began but far beyond it, richer for having been robbed. Everything that was taken from you is being gathered up, and it is being returned to you multiplied. The joy that was stolen returns not as the small joy you lost, but as a joy so full it will spill over onto everyone near you. The peace that was drained returns as a peace so deep that circumstances which once shattered you will not even ripple its surface. See it come, the hero, area by area of your life, like light returning to a house where the power had been out for years. In the place of your relationships, where loneliness had made its home, connection is being restored, and not the shallow connection you settled for, but a bond with those who see you truly, who honor what you carry, who will never make you shrink to be loved. In the place of your provision, where lack had taught you to expect nothing and ask for less, abundance is being decreed, doors of opportunity swinging open in the unseen before they open in the seen, so that what once required struggle will begin to flow with an ease that startles you. In the place of your body and your spirit, where exhaustion had become your baseline, a new strength is rising, a vitality returning to limbs that had forgotten what it felt like to move without dragging a great weight behind them. And in the deepest place of all, the place where you had quietly buried your dreams because it hurt too much to keep them alive, resurrection is beginning. The desires you were told were foolish, the callings you were told were too big for someone like you, the future you stopped letting yourself imagine, all of it is being lifted out of the grave you dug for it and breathed back to life. Heaven does not restore you to the person you were before the attack. Heaven restores you to the person you were always meant to become before the attack ever interrupted you. You are not going back. You are going forward into a version of your life that the years of theft were actually delaying, not destroying. Feel this settle into your bones as more than a hope. Let it become a knowing, the kind of quiet certainty that needs no proof from the outside world because it has been confirmed in the inside world, where truth is decided first. This is the faith I am asking you to step into, the hero, not a desperate wishing that things might change, but a steady confidence that they already have in the realm that governs this one. The peace I am offering you is not the fragile peace that depends on your circumstances behaving. It is the real peace, the peace that stands in the middle of the storm and does not tremble, because it is anchored to something the storm cannot reach. You will know this peace has taken hold in you when you notice that the fear that used to greet you the moment you woke has gone quiet. You will know it when the hour of the night that used to fill you with dread passes without waking you at all. You will know it when someone speaks the old words that used to wound you, and you feel the truth of them simply slide off, unable to find a place to land. That is the seal of heaven working in you. That is the guard General Stone has set upon the gates of your heart, and it is not temporary. It is not a feeling that will fade by morning. It is a change in the very foundation of who you are, a confirmation written so deep that nothing in the world above can erase what has been decided in the world below. So stand now in that certainty, the hero, and let me speak over you the truth of what you are, so that you never again mistake the enemy's lie for your own voice. You are not the forgotten one. You are the guarded one. You are the guarded one. And yet even now the enemy would love for you to forget it before the sun rises, because the shadow that fled tonight has a memory longer than yours, and it knows that a soul who forgets what it learned in the dark can be visited again. So let me press this deeper into you, because the pain you have carried was never random, and until you understand its true shape, you will keep mistaking your battle for your identity. Consider the ache that lives in you at the hour when the house goes quiet. That specific loneliness that does not come from being without people, but from being unseen by the people who are there. That is a particular kind of suffering, the hero, the suffering of the one who is present in every room and absent from every heart, the one who is counted on for everything and asked about nothing. You learned early that your needs made others uncomfortable, so you folded them smaller and smaller until you could tuck them somewhere no one would ever have to look at them, least of all you. And the folding became so habitual that now you scarcely know what you long for, only that the longing is there, a low and constant hum beneath everything you do. I want to name what that theft cost you, because heaven names things before it heals them. It cost you the freedom to be a child in the arms of something larger than yourself. It cost you the ability to rest without earning it first, to receive without immediately calculating how you would repay it, to be loved without suspecting a hidden bill would arrive later. Somewhere along your road you came to believe that love was a transaction and that your worth was measured only in what you could produce, and so you turned yourself into a machine of usefulness and buried the person underneath. The enemy did not need to make you sin to steal from you. It only needed to make you believe you were valuable for your function and worthless in your simple being. That lie has been eating you alive for years, one silent meal at a time, and tonight it is being pulled out of you by the roots. Let me tell you of a man who lived that same buried life, because his story was written for exactly this moment in yours. There was the oracle who had won the greatest victory of his generation. He had stood alone against hundreds who served the darkness, and the fire of heaven had fallen at his word before an entire nation, and the false altars had been thrown down, and for one blazing afternoon, he was the most vindicated man alive. And then within a single day a threat reached his ears, and this same mighty oracle, this man who had commanded the sky, ran into the wilderness in terror and sat down beneath a solitary tree and asked to die. He said that he had had enough, that he was no better than those who came before him, that his life should simply be taken from him. The strongest man of his age, undone by exhaustion and the crushing loneliness of believing he was the only one left who still stood for the light. Do you see yourself in him, the hero? Do you see the pattern the enemy has run against the faithful since the beginning, striking not in the moment of weakness, but in the exhausted aftermath of the victory, when the strong one has spent everything and has nothing left to defend the soft place inside? The oracle lay down under that tree, fully expecting the silence of heaven to be his answer, fully convinced that he had been forgotten, that his faithfulness had earned him nothing but abandonment in the desert. And here is what heaven did. It did not rebuke him for his despair. It did not lecture him about his lack of faith after so great a miracle. It sent the herald to him while he slept, and that herald did the smallest and most tender thing imaginable. He touched him. He woke him gently. And he gave him bread that had been baked over coals and a jar of water, and he said only, "Arise and eat." The oracle ate and lay down again, still too weary to go on. And the herald came a second time and touched him a second time and said, "Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for you." Heaven did not demand that the broken man pull himself together. Heaven fed him first. It let him sleep and it fed him. And it let him sleep again and it fed him again, and only after his body and his spirit had been quietly restored in the wilderness did it lead him onward to the mountain where it would finally speak to him. And when it spoke, it did not come in the great wind that tore the mountains, nor in the earthquake, nor in the fire. It came in a still, small voice, a whisper, the quietest sound in all of creation, because the message for the exhausted servant was that heaven meets the weary, not with thunder, but with tenderness. The hero, this is the truth the enemy has worked so hard to hide from you. You have been waiting for heaven to come to you in fire and vindication, in some dramatic reversal that would prove to everyone who overlooked you that you mattered all along. But heaven has been trying to reach you the way it reached the oracle under the tree, with the touch on the shoulder, with the bread in the wilderness, with the whisper beneath the noise. Every small mercy you dismissed as coincidence was the herald touching you and saying, "Arise and eat." Every unexpected moment of relief, every stranger's kindness that landed at exactly the right hour, every time you found strength to stand that you could not account for, that was heaven feeding you in the desert so that the journey, which is indeed too great for you alone, would not consume you. You were never abandoned under your tree. You were being kept alive by a hand you could not see, one meal of grace at a time, until you were strong enough to hear the whisper. And the whisper is reaching you now. It is in these very words. It is the still, small voice cutting under the roar of everything that has told you that you are alone, that you are too far gone, that your desert has no end. General Stone, who drove back the shadow over your house tonight, is the same one who oversees the tender ministry of the messengers who feed the broken in the wilderness. He does not only wield the sword, he also sends the bread. And tonight, he is doing both over your life at once, driving back the thing that came to strike you, while at the very same moment placing into your trembling hands the nourishment your starved spirit has needed for longer than you can remember. Now let me speak to something you must understand before this night moves any further, because the oracle under the tree had a knowledge you have not yet been given, and its absence has cost you dearly. When heaven finally led that man to the mountain, it revealed to him that he was not the only one, that thousands still stood for the light whom he had never known about, and it gave him specific instructions, actual assignments, names to anoint and a successor to prepare. He was not merely comforted, he was equipped. He was handed the strategy of the unseen war, and sent back into it no longer as a victim of his own despair, but as a commander of his own calling. And this is precisely where so many chosen souls are lost, not for lack of love from heaven, but for lack of the knowledge that would let them take up their own defense. You have felt heaven's touch tonight. You have tasted the bread in the wilderness, but comfort alone will not keep the shadow from returning to a door it already knows how to find. You need the instruction the oracle received on the mountain, the rules of the invisible realm, the specific ways the enemy gains its foothold, and the specific ways that foothold is severed and sealed. This is why the sacred guide was placed within your reach on this exact night, the 7 swords of St. Michael, the holy manual for breaking curses, sealing blessings, and awakening the calling of the hero. It is the mountain instruction rendered into your hands, the strategy of the war laid open, each of the 7 swords a distinct weapon for a distinct assault, so that when the darkness tests your threshold again, and it will test it, you will not lie beneath your tree, waiting to be rescued. You will rise, and you will name the thing that comes, and you will cut it at its root the way General Stone himself does. The link waits at the very top of the comments, the first one pinned beneath these words, and I tell you plainly that reaching for it is not a small thing. There are forces that never wanted this teaching to leave the shadows, that profit endlessly from keeping the hero ignorant of their own weapons, and more than once, hands were raised to bury this knowledge where no weary soul would ever find it. That it has reached you tonight, on the very night the shadow came against your house, is not a coincidence any more than these words in your ears are a coincidence. So go now, while the door of this night stands open, and take hold of what was hidden from you for so long, and speak your defiance where heaven and the enemy can both hear it. Leave the comment that says, "I am chosen, and I will download the digital book." Let those words be the second touch on your shoulder, the confirmation that you have chosen to rise and eat, and walk toward the mountain, instead of lying down to die beneath the tree. For the moment you make that declaration, something shifts in the invisible realm, and I want you to feel the weight of the decrees that heaven begins to speak over a soul who chooses to rise. So receive them now, not as pretty words, but as legal pronouncements in the court that governs your life, each one sealed by the authority of the one who has never lost a war. I decree this night that the spirit of exhaustion that has driven you into the wilderness is broken over you, and that the bread of heaven is restoring what the striving has consumed. I decree that the loneliness that convinced you that you were the only one left is exposed as the lie it always was, and that you are being shown in ways you cannot yet imagine, that you were never as alone as the darkness told you. I decree that the touch on your shoulder has come, that the whisper beneath the noise has reached you, and that you are hearing the still, small voice this very moment as it calls you back to life. I decree over your mind that the fog which has sat behind your eyes is lifting, and that clarity is returning to thoughts that have been clouded for years. I decree over your body that the heaviness which made every morning a mountain is being pried loose finger by finger, and that strength is rising in you like water filling a well that had run dry. I decree over your heart that the folded, hidden, buried self you tucked away where no one could see it is being lifted out and unfolded and made whole, and that you will know again what it is to want, to hope, to reach, without the old shame that told you your desires were too much. I decree that every door the enemy sealed against you in the unseen realm is being unsealed by the sword of General Stone, and that what has been delayed is not denied, but is being released in its appointed hour, which is nearer now than it has ever been. And I decree over the very threshold of your home that a guard has been set upon it this night that the shadow cannot pass, that the wings of Saint Michael are spread across the door through which the attack was sent, and that no weapon formed in the dark against you will be able to hold its shape in the light that now surrounds your dwelling. This is not a wish spoken into the emptiness. This is a verdict handed down in the court of heaven and entered into the record that governs the world you can see. The visible realm has not yet caught up to it, but it will in the days that are coming, as surely as the dawn catches up to the promise made to it in the dark. You are sealed, you are fed, you are being armed, and the war that was fought over you tonight has already turned in your favor. Yet the shadow has a subtle weapon still, and I must expose it now before it can be used against you in the days ahead, because it is the cruelest of all its tools. It is the whisper that says none of this was for you. It will let you feel the touch tonight, and then when the ordinary weight of morning returns, it will lean close to your ear and tell you that you imagined the whole thing, that the peace was only fatigue, that the decrees were only words spoken by a stranger, that souls like yours do not receive miracles and were foolish to hope. That whisper has silenced more of the hero than any open attack, because it does not strike the body or the circumstance. It strikes the memory. It works to erase the very night that set you free, so that by the time the shadow circles back, you no longer even remember that you were once told you would be guarded. I am naming that weapon now, so that when it comes for your memory, you will recognize its hand upon you and refuse it. And to arm your memory against it, let me set into your spirit the story of a woman who bled for 12 long years. Hear it, the hero, because her suffering was the suffering of the invisible. For 12 years, her body would not stop failing her, and every physician she went to took what little she had and left her worse than before, until she had spent everything and had nothing left but the illness itself. She was cut off from every gathering, unclean by the law of her people, forbidden to be touched, forbidden to touch, a woman who could not remember the last time another human hand had rested on her without recoiling. She had become a ghost among the living, present in the town and absent from every life in it, exactly as you have felt yourself become a ghost in your own house. 12 years of a loneliness so total that she must have wondered whether heaven even knew her name. And then she heard that the healer was passing through, surrounded by a crowd so thick that no one could reach him, and she made a decision that changed the invisible world before it changed the visible one. She said within herself that if she could only touch the edge of his garment, only the hem, only the smallest thread of the fringe, she would be made whole. She did not demand to be seen. She did not push to the front to make her case. She simply crawled through the forest of legs, unclean and trembling, and certain that if anyone recognized her they would drive her away, and she stretched out her hand and touched the very edge of his robe. And in that instant the bleeding of 12 years stopped, and power went out of him, and he stopped in the middle of the pressing crowd and asked who had touched him. His followers thought the question absurd, for the whole multitude was touching him. But he knew the difference between the crowd that brushes against heaven by accident and the one soul who reaches for it on purpose, and he would not move another step until that trembling, invisible woman was made visible, until she